Hey, I'm Ansley Kiefer. I'm a senior finance student here at Georgia Southern, and I'm with Dr. Axel Grossman to talk about finance and the finance degree. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Grossman.
Yeah, thank you, Ansley, for having me today.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Axel Grossman. I'm a finance professor here at the finance department at Georgia Southern. As you can hear from my strong Southern accent, I was not born in the United States. I'm from Germany. I got an engineering degree from Germany. Worked at 3 years as an engineer, designed boilers, power plants. And what you might not know about Germany, Germany is a rather small country, but economically very powerful through its exports. So I learned very early in my career that I needed to be more proficient in English and get some business knowledge to advance in my career. So I had always the idea to go to the United States to maybe pursue a master's. So to get more proficient in English, to get a business degree. And so it happened actually in 2000. I came to the United States just for vacation and met my now wife. So at this point, I thought maybe it's a good idea to combine my professional goals with my private goals. So I came here to the United States to pursue a master's in business and to get to know this woman. As you might know, it turned out very well for me. I married this woman. We have 2 beautiful children. And after my master's, I actually continued my career and got a PhD in finance. And when I think back about my engineering degree and my engineering job, it was kind of my hobby. So I liked it very much. Going to work was really enjoyable for me. And now I can say the same thing has happened. Even though I haven't changed, I went from engineering, I went to business. My job is my hobby again. I love to go to class, to pass on knowledge to young minds. To do my research, to work with others, my colleagues in the department, to work with alumni, to work with professionals. So I'm actually, I would say, really excited about what I'm doing, and that's what I wish for all of my students as well. So I taught in Texas, I taught in Virginia, and now I'm almost for 9 years here at Georgia Southern. I also serve as the main advisor of the Finance Association as well as the Southern Investment Association.
So what classes do you teach, and what is your area of expertise?
So the class I mainly teach is in corporate finance. I teach the principles course. I teach the intermediate course. I teach investments. I teach international finance. I teach also the financial certification class, which is kind of related to the Southern Investment Association with the students who are members of the Southern Investment Association. I'm also co-instructor of the Eagles on Wall Street class, where we take students to Wall Street for 1 week every semester, every year. This class was actually initiated by Dr. Alyssa Lee, who's also a professor here at the finance department. And then, as I mentioned before, I'm advisor of 2 student organizations. Now, my area of expertise is kind of very much aligned with what I do in the classroom. My research focuses on international finance, investments, and corporate finance. For example, in international finance, I focus a lot on exchange rates, the volatility of exchange rates, forecasting exchange rates, over and undervaluation of exchange rate and the impact on macroeconomic variables like foreign direct investment, capital flows, and so forth. I've also done research investment with respect to asset valuation, asset pricing, or in corporate finance, I've looked at restricted corporate governance and governance on bond issues, bond pricing, and bond yields.
So can you explain what finance is for someone who isn't familiar?
So how do I explain finance to someone who's not familiar with finance? Well, that's a great question. I would say finance addresses the question with respect to individuals as well as businesses, how they acquire money. And when we talk about money in a business sense, we actually talk about capital. Okay? So how do we acquire money? And then when we have the money, when we have the capital, what do we do with it? How do we spend it? And how do we invest it? Now, again, going back to an individual level, we talked about many times about financial planning. Individuals, hopefully we all naturally acquire income through our jobs, wages and salaries. And then the idea is, so once we get our money, what do we do with the money? Of course, we have to spend money, so we have to do a budget. But then we also want to save money. And the question becomes, for what do we save? And once we decide for what we want to save, we also want to know, how do we save? Okay, what are the tools we use for saving? Do we put our money just on the pillow? Or do we actually want to invest in bonds, stocks, or put our money just in a bank account. And that many times depends also on our level of risk aversion, right? How much risk you want to take. You might want to put your money under the pillow because you don't trust anyone else, okay? Which, as you know, is not really a good idea because we want to make a return on our investment.
So how should students plan to get involved or build a resume while they're a student in finance here?
I would say my main advice is actually threefold. First of all, I would say, yes, students, get involved. How do you get involved? I think the easiest way, become a member of a student organization. Now, again, if I talk about if you're a finance major, the finance department offers the finance association, the Successful Investment Association. Become a member, but maybe become a leader, okay? And then any other experiential learning experience that's offered by the college. For example, study away, Eagles on Wall Street, or study abroad. I mean, I took students to Prague, to Berlin, Germany. Great experience, something that you can put on your resume that makes you stick out. Build a network. That's something that might be not as explicit on your resume, but I think very, very important for your career. Get to know alumni. I know from personal experience, alumni from Georgia Southern just waiting for a phone call. I mean, many told me I'm excited when I can relate back to Georgia Southern. So I would say just contact someone, talk to someone from Georgia Southern. They can give you career advice, and that's how you can build your network. Come to the Finance Association, to the guest speaker events. You meet professionals. In the worst case, you figure out something you don't want to do. Get to know the students in your classroom. Way too often I come to the classroom nowadays and students are on their cell phones instead of talking to the students left and right. And the student next to you might be the next Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, and you don't know him. You might know exactly what you want to do right now, but it might change. See, in my case, I changed from engineering to finance. So having a network to fall back on is very, very important. And then finally, I would say, get an internship. Companies nowadays look for experience. They want students to have some kind of knowledge. Start easy when you're early in your college career, but later on maybe target more towards what you really want to do, because many of those students who have internships end up with the companies they have internships with. From my own experience going to Wall Street, what we see is, or what the professionals tell us there, when people apply at Wall Street, initially only computer programs run over the applications. So your resume is not a human being is looking at your resume, it's a computer. And many times they're looking, of course, in Wall Street on Ivy League schools. Now then the question is, how did we actually place directly students from Georgia Southern on Wall Street? Because the computer looks also at something that sticks out on your resume. Like, for example, being a president of the Successful Investment Association, being a member of a student-run investment fund, right? Basically managing money while you're in college, right? Managing a portfolio while in college. So there are certain things, study abroad, Eagles on Wall Street, Finance Association. I mean, that's really one, I think, big key resource here at Georgia Southern, that you have so many experiential learning experience that you can take advantage of and put on your resume. And then, despite the fact that we might not yet be an Ivy League school, you can still compete with anyone out there.
What are some key skills acquired by students who study finance?
First of all, let me talk about the skills I would say you should have becoming a finance major. Of course, we talk about all these professional skills, soft skills, writing and communication skills, but to become a finance major, of course, finance is more quantitative. So you will certainly need some basic algebra skills. I would say ratios, percentages, some basic statistics skills are very important to become a finance major. Now, you don't have to be scared of this because you learn all those things in your college classes before you take a finance class. But if you think about finance, kind of make sure you really pay attention and focus on those kind of topics. Now, once you have a finance degree, and that goes later on the careers you want, but I mean, you will learn about investments, wealth management, which securities to pick, what the risk-return trade-off, for example, how to budget in a professional, in a private, in an individual sense, as well as for professional career. That's, I think, it's one of the best or the key advantage of having a finance degree. Everything what we teach you can kind of apply to your own personal life, and you can then apply it working either for a small business or a large corporation, or working in the investment field, or helping others with their finances. So I think the skill set goes from, again, corporate, insurance, real estate, I mean, all the fields that you can think of.
Can you tell us a little bit about the career fields that finance students go into?
as I mentioned earlier, and that's again something I think is great about the field of finance. It's just a multitude of opportunities for our students. First of all, with career fields, but also when you think about entrance salaries, our students on average making $50,000 and $60,000 entry salaries, many times $80,000 to $100,000 when they get out of college. So it's already good. As me, as a parent, I have a son who's asking the same questions now, what I'm supposed to do. And of course, the classical answer from parents is make sure your degree pays your bills, right? So I think finance certainly does that. But I always tell the students also be passionate about what you do. Think about if you're passionate about what you do, it becomes, like I would say in my case, it becomes your hobby, and they're paying you for it, right? So what are the career fields I mentioned earlier when we talked about the skill sets that you will obtain? It's corporate finance. You can work in financial management, capital budgeting, financial analyst, and you can work for small and large corporation, small company, private as well as public. Okay, you can work for financial institutions. I mean, what comes to mind is insurance companies or banking, commercial banking or investment banking. When we go to investment banking, we go to Wall Street, we go into investments, you can get a job as a security analyst, portfolio manager, stockbroker, financial advisors, wealth management, which then goes into financial planning. If you like to work with people, if you're a people person, you can help anyone with their financial wealth. Starts with how to invest for retirement, how to invest for certain goals, their estate planning, taxes, whatever you can think of. I talked about previous insurance. You can work for an insurance corporation, but you can open up your own insurance agency. We have a great insurance program. You can become a claim adjuster, an underwriter. You can work in real estate. We have also real estate classes that prepare you for being a real estate agent or working for commercial real estate. Risk management, financial engineering to become a little bit more exotic, or international finance, right? Everything what you do domestically, you can do at an international scale. You can work for a corporation that has foreign businesses dealing with export, import, trade. Whenever the exchange rate comes into play, we talk about international finance.
Could you share a few companies that students work for once they graduate?
Let me just talk about some recent graduates. In the investment field, I know we have students working on Invesco, PIMCO, Fixed Income New York, Capital Group, Royal Bank of Canada, UBS, Fitch Ratings, all companies actually in New York on Wall Street, Fidelity Investments, Vanguard, JB, Morgan Chase, American Express, TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, Equifax. On the corporate side, I know lately students got jobs with Deloitte, ADT, Home Depot, Cisco, and the list goes on. It's just kind of some companies could come to mind from recent graduates, but I would say almost there's no big corporation out there that does not have a Georgia Southern finance graduate working for them.
What do you enjoy most about teaching finance at Georgia Southern?
I would say what I like most about coming here is or coming every day, just coming to class, teaching my students like you. I mean, you have taken classes with me, and it's just a joy coming here and seeing how our students, especially our good students, how they are hungry and want to prove themselves in the professional world. Okay, they don't have this entitlement attitude. They have this kind of they want to go to it. They're go-getters, you know, and that's really enjoyable, especially when I see our students interacting with professionals, with alumni. I think the most important thing I would say, or the one thing that always sticks out to me, is how professionals you all are. I mean, it's just a joy to come into the classroom, and there's no trouble. There's just everyone is sitting there paying attention, and even during the pandemic, students came to my classroom and wanted to learn, and that was really something that I very much enjoyed. Another point, working with students outside the classroom. Georgia Southern is great, providing a lot of resources for students and faculty members. I can hardly remember that we as a faculty or students, we needed some funds to do something outside the classroom, that the university, the college, or the department was not very much supportive of that. So working with the Southern Investment Association, the Finance Association, Eagles on Wall Street, everything is beyond the classroom, right? Students are willing to show up. You know, SIA, we meet twice a week, 5 o'clock, and students are there. Not only that, we have once a semester, we have the Saturday stock pitch, where we as faculty said, let's start at 8 or 9, and students said, let's start at 7:30. And we show up at 7:30 on a Saturday, and every single student of the association is there waiting for us already, prepared to do their stock pitches. And it's like an 8-hour Saturday, and it feels like it goes by in a second. No one is complaining, everyone is just going and trying to do their job, and that is just amazing. And I think you can very much speak to that yourself because you're part of the SIA Finance Association. 5:30, once or twice a semester, we have guest speakers. Students show up asking great questions. Eagles on Wall Street, we go to New York, we go to the professionals, we go to the executives of Wall Street, and our students are there behaving extremely professional, asking very good questions, are very much engaged. So working with our students outside the classroom, I think, is actually one thing I enjoy the most here at Georgia Southern.
Thank you for sitting down and talking with us today, Dr. Grossman.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy, for having me, and it was a joy talking about our finance program. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed learning about our finance degree and all the opportunities it has to offer.